Hello, my fellow forgiven sinners. Grace and peace to you. This is our fourth video on our series on God and government. In this video, we're going to look at what is, biblically speaking, the purpose and power of the government. What is the goal that God gives to civil government, and what tools are at its disposal according to the scriptures? So first off, to start off, what is the purpose? What is the goal of civil government? Romans chapter 13 says, for he, referring to the authority, referring to government officials, he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Similarly, in 1 Peter chapter 2, we read, submit yourselves to governors who are sent by him, by God, to punish those who do wrong and commend those who do right. Last verse for our consideration, 1 Timothy chapter 2 says, you Christian, pray for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. So here what we get from these scriptures is the purpose of civil government is to create a stable and peaceful society. And we see governments doing this, even incredibly wicked governments that abuse their authority. Ultimately, they are aiming to create some kind of peaceful, stable society because they're not going to stay in power very long if everything is in chaos. Just kind of the reality. But this is the goal of government. Okay, what they want is to create peaceful and quiet lives for their citizens. They want to establish things so that society can benefit, so that society can move forward. And so what tools does God give to the civil government? We just saw that in Romans chapter 13, where he said, they do not bear the sword for nothing. Okay, civil government has the sword. They have physical force. They are able to make people obey, right? And so this is what happens, right? If you kill somebody, they may kill you back, right? If you kill somebody, the government is going to stop you, right? This is God's power given to the civil government, that they are there to stop evil from being continued, right? They are there as a deterrent from evil. I mean, just think of how many people how many would-be thieves stopped from committing their crime because they were afraid of getting caught, right? It's an untellable, unknown how much of a deterrent that actually is, right? And so some of the powers that God gives to government that we see throughout the scriptures, we see the government, the civil government, acting as judge, right, to settle disputes between two different citizens. We see the government there as a punisher, right, the judicial system, not just to settle disputes, but also to solve crimes, to punish the evildoer and to commend those who do right, as we said. The government is able to collect taxes. We see that happening throughout the scriptures. The government can demand revenue from us as well. In Genesis chapter 9, after the first murder, we read, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man will his blood be shed. So the government does have divinely instituted the death penalty. Right? They are able to issue capital punishment. Now, again, as we've said in a past video, in the United States, we have quite a bit of opportunity to influence our government. And we're in, again, a very kind of a Goldilocks moment in history for a lot of the blessings that we have here. And because of that, we're in a situation where we can decide whether or not capital punishment is necessarily something we should use. Right? If we're talking about some third world tribe off somewhere and they're dealing with a serial killer and they don't really have the ability to keep that person in prison or do any kind of thing like that, like we're able to do here, again, the death penalty may be the best solution to that problem for the stability of their society. In our situation, again, we can debate that. We can figure out what would work best, and again, Christians can come to different conclusions there. That's most of it. Finally, the last thing that Christians have wrestled with for, again, centuries. Again, there's been a lot of Christian thinkers for the past 2,000 years that have been grappling with what is our relationship to the government. One of the final powers that Christians have recognized the government having based on God's word is the idea of just war. That the government has the ability not only to rule in their own place, but also to go to war against other nations. However, they do set some pretty clear parameters sort of clear. One of them specifically is a little bit going to depend on opinion. But these are the concepts for a just war that Christians have passed down to us from history. Um, so the way they have described it is that a government has the right to wage war for according to their responsibility to maintain peace and stability in society. And the traditional criteria for a just war, are number one, that the war is waged by legal authorities. So again, that it's not Joe Schmo just deciding I'm going to start war, but that it's coming from the genuine legal processes. Number two, that it is for a just cause. That's where maybe it's a little bit debatable, right? Sometimes a soldier on the ground doesn't necessarily know what the higher ups are doing, doesn't know the exact reason for the war. So that's a difficult one there sometimes. But it should be for a just cause, the defense of the weak, or helping those in need, right? Defending your people, defending others. Number three, it should be done as a last resort. We should pursue other avenues before war. Number four, with a reasonable probability of success. If everybody's just going to die, it's not really a good idea to go to war. And then number five, with proportionate means, right? So what resources, how much manpower is going into this? There should be some recognition that there's a good proportion there. And then finally, with regard for the innocent, what is the impact on the innocent going to be? Thank you for watching this video on the purpose, the biblically speaking goal of government, and the tools afforded to government by the scriptures, by our God. With that, we'll see you next time. God's blessings on you till we meet again.
And I say, can't be that easy. And he said, and no, it wasn't easy, but be still and know that I am God. Be still and